say I'm glad I have teenagers.
I bet Crystal can agree with that too, that she would rather teenagers.
Yeah, I'll probably be on mute for a little bit.
All right, well, we're all here, so I think we're all here. Okay, counted us. 1, 2, 3, 5, 6, 7. Yep, excellent. And Zach said we're good, so we'll go ahead and get started. If I had a clue what today's date was. Today is the Tuesday, April 28th meeting of the East Bridgewater Finance Committee. As our new normal, we are coming via GoToMeeting. Hopefully we'll get back to our old normal at some point in the near future, but not too soon. All right, so pretty much we're down to the wire. So I neglected to totally make an agenda because we really only have one agenda item to get through. Is basically what we want to do tonight is we want to run through the remaining articles that we need to vote on. We've got a handful of things, which obviously includes the budget and the capital recommendations as well. So what we're going to do is Brian and I have been working over the last couple of days to get thank you to those who were able to get some edits over to us on the warrant, and we are still tweaking right up until about 10 minutes ago. So once we get through the meeting tonight, assuming we might come up with 1 or 2 more tweaks in it, Brian will make those final updates, and then we'll get the updated warrant out to everybody. So tonight we're going to probably work off of my edited version. Brian, do you want to send control over to me and I'll put up my warrant?
1 second. Let me remember how to do that. People, Laura, make presenter. Yes. Okay.
Okay. And then perfect.
There we go.
Let me just get back up to the top here. We'll start at the very beginning. Sorry, I couldn't, all my stuff is blocking. Okay, so Melanie, did you receive the spreadsheet that I just sent you about 20 minutes ago?
Yep, I got it open.
Okay, perfect. I hope it's not too confusing.
No, I didn't get a chance to really look at it yet, but I think I can follow it.
Okay, so basically what I've done is because since we did our last votes on March 31st, obviously some tweaks to the warrant have happened. So just for the sake of record keeping, I've maintained this kind of original spreadsheet with the old article numbers, the new article numbers, and I've crossed off what has gone away. And what obviously we've recorded all of the votes. We'll continue to do that tonight. And then once the document is done, we'll forward it out to everyone, just so everybody has for their own records a copy of this, I guess, document of how we voted on all the articles. So what we can do is we can, and again, thank you everybody who was able to get some edits over to us, but if there is still anything we see tonight, we can certainly make note of it and get it over. So just for folks to know, Brian and I did make some edits to the letter. We'll get that out to you and you can give me your feedback on the letter. If there's some disagreement with anything worded in it. I can probably just do a couple real quick highlight tweaks, a lot of just formatting stuff, but I was able to, I spent a lot of time yesterday just kind of cross-referencing numbers and checking. So there are a couple numbers on some of the ancillary sheets that need to be updated with every tweak we've made. So a couple of tweaks that we need to make on those ancillary sheets. This first revenue and expenditure budget estimate sheet had one tweak we'll do. Glossary we can gloss over, no pun intended. And then we'll just get right into the articles of the special town meeting. So we now have 6 articles. I'm gonna keep up on paper and on the screen here. 6 articles for the special town meeting. A couple of them we already did vote. We have 2 that have gone away since we last talked and reviewed this warrant in March. One new one that we need to vote on, but we do need to re-vote on article number 1. This is the union and personnel contracts article. That number changed after we made our vote on March 31st. So on March 31st, I believe we voted it at, I'm going off my memory, I think it was 150. And it's up to $212,000. So we knew we were going to have to revote that one. So if everybody is amenable, we'll go ahead and just start the process and go down the list. If everybody's okay with that process.
Yep.
Can we stick, for the sake of protocol, I'd like to stick to the same process that we used last time, if that's okay with everyone, where Dan, you made the motions, Melanie, you seconded, and then I will do a roll call vote, in alphabetical order for each vote.
Sure.
Okay.
Sounds good.
Okay, so then I will entertain a motion on special article number 1.
I make a motion for the Finance Committee to recommend Article 1 in the amount of $212,000 as printed.
And I'll second that.
Okay, any discussion? Does anybody need a refresher on this article? No? Okay. As there is no discussion, we'll go ahead and do a roll call vote. I'm going to use last name, so I'm being too formal here. Conley,
Yes.
Dean,
Yes.
Hudson,
Yes.
Teacher,
Yes.
Riley,
Yes.
Sebastian is a yes, Walsh. Oh, Dave, you on mute?
Yes, I was. Yes.
Excellent. Okay, article passes on MSBU. Okay, perfect. Okay, so that's revoted. Yes. Okay. We are all set on 2, oops, get down here, 2, 3, and 4. And 5, we're all set. Just if you see yellow here, these are just little typo spelling issues. And then, so just for the sake of old warrant versus new warrant, we eliminated the tower truck article and the MSBA premium transfer article, but added, which I think we already did review and meeting, is Article 6. So Article 6, this is, I believe, Brian, correct me if I'm wrong, housekeeping to consolidate. You wanna
Correct.
do a quick refresher on this one?
Yeah, we have a whole bunch of old public works articles for the Water Enterprise Fund, and I'm rolling them up. It's about 125,000, and I'm making it available for repairs, replacements, and improvements in an article. So essentially, we're taking old articles that were voted for the same purpose, but specifically for particular areas, Spring, Walnut, and South Street, rolling them up, and they can now be used on any part of the water infrastructure. We need to add some hydrants into the system, and we have some maintenance to do on Central Street. We got a 6-inch main that has only 1 inch of clearance in it right at the moment. So we're gonna dig that up no matter what, just to get the water flowing on that. But rather than saying I need X number of dollars for this one and $5 for this one and $10 for this one, just putting it into one article, and we can draw from that article for anything to do with repairs, replacements, and improvements.
So the money that these were intended for, those projects are complete, and these are residual funds.
Correct.
So I will entertain a motion.
I make a motion for the Finance Committee to recommend Article 6 as printed.
And I'll second that.
Okay, any additional discussion? Brian, I know I asked you this yesterday and I can't remember the answer. I apologize. What was the reasoning behind not having the dollar amount in this article?
At the time that I made the warrant, I hadn't actually calculated it, but the number is 125,610. And if you want to, I could change that to the recommendation. The Finance Committee recommends in favor of this article in the amount of, because that amount will no longer change.
Okay. I think for consistency's sake, since we have that in the majority of the other articles, that would make sense. Does everybody agree to that? Yes.
Yeah.
Yep.
Yes.
Okay. All right, any additional discussion? All right, we'll do a roll call quick. Conley,
Yes.
Dean,
Yes.
Hudson,
Yes.
Pecha,
Yes.
Riley,
Yes.
Sebastian, yes, Walsh.
Yes.
Okay, MSVU motion passes. Okay. All right, so going into annual. Okay, so I need another piece of paper to follow along here. Hold on 1 second. Okay, get too many spreadsheets going. Okay, article number 1, we as a committee said we were not going to make a recommendation on. So we skipped that one. All right, so now we get into article 2, which is our budget. Okay, so I think the way we're going to, so just from a formatting warrant perspective, Brian and I talked about just some formatting tweaks that we're going to make to this section here with some subtotal lines and some spacing. And there is one number that actually has a typo in it, but it doesn't affect the totals. So I think we're still fine with moving forward on the votes using this budget in the warrant. So we're going to go through and vote on general. I can probably make this a little bigger if that helps everybody. So we're going to do like total general government. We're just going to vote the total for total general government and then do all the other major categories.
Can we just vote on the whole budget?
You can if you want to.
Why do we gotta vote on every single total?
It's only major categories, so it's only like 4 or 5 categories.
No, but what's the
general
purpose of doing that?
She's mimicking what you would use in town meeting as the procedure.
So in town meeting, this is how the vote will go in town meeting. This is how the moderator will do it. So he'll do major government, major budget categories.
So what if one of the things gets, voted down and the rest of them get voted up?
It can happen. It has happened. It
then what
happened 2 years.
happens?
It happened 2 years ago.
Right, and then so then what happens to the budget?
So it's probably one of the reasons why we do it this way. So I'll give you an example. 2 years ago, in town meeting, one general category, there was a vote on the floor. It was for the schools, and they changed the motion to be the higher, the amount that was originally proposed by the school committee, not the finance committee's recommendation. So the whole budget didn't fail, but we had to do, they amended the article and vote and won for the school line item. And we had to scramble on town meeting floor to figure out the funding for that one section.
Okay.
That was when the
Does
fire
anyone get to
department,
vote
police
no on any of
department-
these things here in this meeting right now?
You can vote no.
Okay. I'm gonna put a wager out that no one votes no on any of these, but
Yeah,
okay.
and that's fine, but we're just following the way it's going to be voted in town meeting.
If we've done our job properly, there should
Yeah.
be no dissenting vote.
Yeah.
So I have a question.
Yep.
With this, we're voting total, basically salary and expense for each department. We're not showing people what the line items are within the departments. And
Not
what
in the
department
article,
head-
we're not, but there is going to
Right.
be a handout available at town meeting.
Okay,
If you delineate the expenses, Dave, in the warrant, then that's your voting those expense lines. So any transfer from, let's say, paper clips to elastics would have to
yeah,
go.
I understand.
Committee.
Yeah, I understand that. I understand that totally. I understand the rationale. I'm just concerned that the audience, when they see this to vote on it, it's gonna raise a lot of questions.
Okay, so I'll make a handout that explodes the budget into, exasperating detail. So anybody who wants to know precisely what each line is can actually see it.
Follow Wolf will.
Actually, to be honest with you, Dave, I've been told that like from 8 different people, so I'm gonna mail it to her ahead of time.
I think it's Kathy Wolf you're talking.
Okay.
Yeah, Kathy will. Sorry, yeah, you're right.
I
There
agree,
are
Dave.
some others.
I think there's gonna be questions, but I think if the handout's available to folks, I think it should be fine.
Right, but I mean, whoever's presenting this should be prepared to refer to the handout. So I'm just a heads up. I think there are people who always question things with the police department, always question things with the fire department. And they're gonna want to see the detail. So just a heads up.
Agreed. Absolutely agreed. Yep.
And
All
so
right.
in these areas, when you explain these, like general government, et cetera, at one time we were talking about a town planner and an assistant or something like that. Are there any new positions in any of these budgets?
Well,
Sorry, hit me with that question again.
so we as a finance committee should be able to answer that because we had presentations from every, so we know, if I go off the top of my head and Brian backed me up, I do not believe there were any new positions in general government. I believe there were new positions in public safety because we had some new civilian dispatchers.
Dispatch, yep.
Plus we probably, we upped last year, actually, well, we didn't add new, we allowed them to hire back missing police department, officers, which I don't believe they've even finished yet, but that's not necessarily new.
And
And
we
school-
allowed the fire chief to fill the 4 vacant positions.
Yep.
In the fire department. Those positions were previously authorized but never filled. And in this budget, we're filling them.
So, and we've got in this, what is in the budget, we have personal services. So we have, the general categories there. So even if we gave them the detail, I don't think, it's not going to tell you that anyway in the detail.
Right.
Yeah. Okay. All right.
But
So
people
if
will
we're,
look and say, oh, this line went up this much. What is that for? So
Yeah.
I'm just,
yeah, they'll have that and they, in theory, still can ask those questions, but I'm hoping that this format would potentially help reduce that. I don't know. Probably not, but is hoping, right?
Right,
To all
so
of
this
you
is
veterans,
clear
how
and
long does
concise.
the Bridgewater town meeting typically last?
Depends on the year, but can be anywhere from 3 to way more. Dave, there's probably been some good
Yeah,
filibusters.
the longest I've ever been at was it got over like about 11:30 or so.
But I think the
as we
last
were
2 years
con-
have been before 10.
They were,
No, I mean, just in
The
terms
last
of,
couple of years were very,
What'd you say, Kevin?
last couple of years were out by 10 o'clock.
Right. And we're talking 3 nights, 10 nights?
One night.
One night.
one night.
One night.
One
One
night,
night.
Really? Oh,
we're talking one night.
really? Okay.
All right. So any other questions about how we'll do this voting?
No.
Excellent.
Oh.
Okay.
Can you click bigger, like one more time on that PDF? Does anyone mind?
Yep.
We try. Is that okay with everyone?
Yeah.
Thank you.
Okay. All right. Then starting with total general government, I'll entertain a motion there.
I make a motion for the finance committee to recommend the total general government budget for fiscal year 21 as printed.
And I'll second that.
Okay. Any additional discussion? Okay, we'll do a quick roll call vote. Conley,
Yes.
Dean,
Yes.
Hudson,
Yes.
Peter,
Yes.
Riley,
Yes?
Sebastian, yes, Walsh,
Yes.
Okay, motion passed MSV. Okay. Okay, so total public safety, I'll entertain a motion.
I make a motion for the finance committee to recommend the total public safety budget for fiscal year 21 as printed.
And I'll second that.
Okay, any additional discussion? Okay, none, we'll do a roll call vote. Conley,
Yes.
Dean,
Yes.
Hudson,
Yes.
Peter,
Yes.
Riley,
Yes.
Sebastian, yes, Walsh.
yes,
Okay, motion passed, MSCU. So entertain a motion on total education.
I make a motion for the finance committee to recommend the total education budget for fiscal year 21 as printed.
Hold on one second, Dan. I didn't mark this one. We did have a typo in this number, so I just want to make sure I'm grabbing the correct number. Brian, can you confirm for me it is the 23,325, 542?
Hold on. 23,325,542. Yes.
Okay. So it's not this total amount, it is this subtotal amount right here.
Correct.
So, all right, I just want to make this very, very crystal clear on the vote. Okay,
I can restate the motion with the number in it.
would you please?
Which
Yes.
number?
I will make a motion for the finance committee to recommend the total education budget in the amount of $23,325,542 for fiscal year 21.
I'll second that.
Okay, any additional discussion? Okay, seeing none, quick roll call. Conley,
Yes.
Dean,
Yes.
Hudson. Hudson.
Sorry.
You're on mute.
Sorry. Yes. Sorry. Yes.
Peter,
Yes.
Beulah,
Riley,
Yes.
Sebastian is a yes. Walsh.
yes,
Excellent, motion passed. MSBU. Okay, I will entertain a motion on total public works.
I make a motion for the finance committee to recommend the total public works budget as printed for fiscal year 21.
And I'll second that.
Okay, any additional discussion? Seeing none, quick roll call. Conley,
Yes.
Dean,
Yes.
Hudson,
Yes.
Peter,
Yes.
Riley,
Yes.
Sebastian's a yes. Walsh.
yes,
Okay, motion passed. MSVU. Okay, total, I will entertain a motion on total human services.
I make a motion for the finance committee to recommend the total human service budget for fiscal year 21 as printed.
And I'll second that.
Any discussion? Seeing none, quick roll call. Conley,
Yes.
Dean,
Yes.
Hudson,
Yes.
Dan.
Oh, sorry. I was waiting for my last name. Yes.
I did. Riley,
Yes.
Sebastian, yes. Walsh.
yes,
Motion passed. MSVU. All right, and I'll entertain a motion on culture and recreation.
I make a motion for the finance committee to recommend the total culture and recreation budget for fiscal year 21 as printed.
And I'll second that.
Okay, any discussion? Seeing none, quick roll call. Conley,
Yes.
Dean,
Yes.
Hudson,
Yes.
Peter,
Yes.
Riley,
Yes.
Sebastian, yes. Walsh.
yes,
Okay, thank you. Motion passed. MSVU. And last category is I'll entertain a motion on total debt service.
I make a motion that the finance committee recommend the total debt service for fiscal year 21 as printed.
And I'll second that.
Okay, any discussion? Quick roll call, seeing none. Conley,
Yes.
Dean,
Yes.
Hudson,
Yes.
Peter,
Yes.
Riley,
Yes.
Sebastian, yes. Walsh.
yes,
Okay, motion passes. MSVU. as part of the article, so we as a group decided to combine this, the salaries of the elected officials. So Brian, can we just do one vote on this section? Or is it
Um,
already included? Do we need to?
By the approval, see, when you make the motion, you're going to say in your motion to set the wages of elected town officials as printed in the warrant. So you don't have to do a second vote on this because you already approved it in the operating budget.
Perfect. Okay. Even better. Okay. Excellent. Okay. That good? I didn't mean to highlight that, damn it. All righty then. Okay, moving on. So that took care of Article 2. That was a long one. Article 3 is our capital. So Brian and I had a quick discussion about how we need to vote this. Brian, do you want to tell him your thoughts on, typically we may have usually done this in a one lump sum vote?
You could really do it, normally you would do it in lump sum budget, but I would think based upon the budget obstacles we may be facing shortly, there are things that we are not going, I'm going to recommend that town meeting not do at this time and hold off. And that would be like the cruisers, the lighting system in the auditorium, I don't really care about the video processor because it's, I know it sounds terrible, but small money. And the video projection system, I'm going to recommend you pass over because I want to hold that because I want to preserve our funds. So I would say at the moment, my recommendation to the committee is simply say we'll give our report at town meeting.
Are there anybody want to discuss that process or have any other thoughts?
I think that makes a lot of sense, not knowing where, if there is any potential cuts to local aid. I wait until town meeting.
From a technicality perspective, Brian, we would get a report at town meeting, but we would still need to formally vote it. Would we just vote it at a meeting prior to?
Yes, we'll meet just prior to town meeting. I'll check off, I will make suggestions to you about which items you'll move and do that. And then the capital budget committee will make the motion and we'll just have them amend their motion to only approve certain items in the budget.
So when the warrant goes out, so we, in theory, we don't need to take any particular action on this. Are we gonna just amend the warrant to say the finance committee will give its report at town meeting?
Correct.
So we'll want to edit that recommendation.
Done.
Okay, and then we don't even need
We'll
it.
have to post the meeting before town meeting to do this.
Correct.
Exactly, yep. Yep, which I'm thinking, but as we get closer to town meeting, and we'll have Brian give us an update on his thoughts prior to this, but we're probably gonna have to have, as we start to learn more about potential cuts that might be coming, we're probably gonna be having to meet and have those discussions anyway. So I don't think it's gonna be a too much of an issue. So if everybody's good with that, we'll just pass on Article 3 and we'll edit the comment to say that the Finance Committee will give report at town meeting.
So what is the rationale for wanting to pass on it and potentially reserve the funds? Fear of reduced revenues from the state or something, or what?
We're going to get reduced revenues from the state. So, and we can talk about this after we get through the warrant, but it is my belief that we need to husband back some of our spending to keep the free cash available for reappropriation at perhaps a fall town meeting.
Okay.
Dave, I don't know, were you a selectman in 2008 when they cut the budget middle of the year?
Yep.
Okay, they're going to do that again.
Okay, so is everybody in agreement with that, with steps for that article?
Yes.
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 Okay. Moving right along. Okay. We already took care of Article 4, 5, and 6. We already voted on. Okay, next article we need to vote on is Article 7, which is our solid waste enterprise fund, which we didn't have the final numbers before, but now we do. Okay, Brian, I just thought of something because Article 7 we're okay to vote on. Article 8 on my copy we're not okay to vote on.
Okay, Article 8, I'm going to amend that to match the actual appropriation. So it's 2,815,920.
Okay, so let's go ahead and deal with 7 first then. So we're all set to move forward with solid waste. So I would entertain a motion on Article 7.
I will make a motion for the Finance Committee to recommend Article 7 as printed.
And I'll second that.
Okay, any discussion?
Yeah, I apologize. In the second section, the solid waste revenue is 874,992, and the solid waste retained earnings is 100,000. So if we're going to move it the way it's written in the warrant, I need to make that amendment.
Okay.
The total is 974,992. That's correct. But the breakout in the second section is 874,992, 100,000 in retained earnings, 974,992.
Okay.
Where does the retained earnings come from?
The retained earnings is excess revenue from previous years.
Excess revenue from what?
The charges of solid waste.
Oh, okay. So it doesn't just fund itself year to year then?
No, you keep a certain amount in retained earnings, you appropriate it for operations and maintenance, and then of course it restocks because you're always planning on a profit of 100 grand, and then you bring it back in and spend it. But the deal is you appropriate the money for spending because you can't just take retained earnings unless you have a town meeting vote. So it's basically part of operations and maintenance, and it gives us the reserve account. If solid waste increases beyond the budgeted amount, they have $100,000 additional funding.
Got it. Thank you.
Okay, so I can't see it. I don't know if you guys can see my screen, but I just put a comment in to talk about the changes that Brian's made. We're basically just breaking that 974,992 into 874,992 and 100,000 in retained earnings. The totals remain the same. So we'll maintain this copy with our notes on it as our official copy. It'll still technically be as written.
Okay.
I forgot where we were. Dan, did you make a motion?
I did.
And Melanie, did you second?
Yep.
Sorry.
That's okay.
Any additional discussion? No? Okay, great. So we'll go down Conley.
Yes.
Yes.
Melanie? Okay, thank
Yes.
you.
Sorry, I didn't know if I blanked out for a minute.
Hudson?
Yes.
Jeff?
Yes.
Riley?
Yes.
Sebastian, yes. Walsh?
Yes.
Okay, motion passed. MSVU. Okay. All right. And because we didn't get an updated article out, I need to put another comment in.
Do you want me to list the totals?
Yep, hold on one second. I just totally screwed this up. I'm trying to move my go-to meeting screen and it's not letting me move. Oh, there we go. Okay. I'm just gonna make this. Okay.
Okay, the first line, the reserve for unforeseen expenses, the $10,000 is gone.
Okay.
Salaries is 716,965.
Yep.
Operation is $1,063,164.
Yep.
Capital outlay is 0.
Yeah,
Debt service is 1,035,791.
okay,
Grand total is 2,815,920. And to pay for that, we will use $2,315,920 in revenue and $500,000 from retained earnings.
okay, can you give me that first revenue number again, 2,315,000?
$2,315,920.
Okay. Hold on one second. Can you, I'm just thinking that number should be ending in 19 and not 20.
There's a rounding error because it's a 50 cents in there,
Okay.
so it goes to 920.
Okay. On our worksheet, we have it as 919. I don't think that'll
I've
match too much.
corrected that. I've corrected that.
Okay, so we're ending in 920. Okay. Perfect. Okay. Let me just get these numbers in real quick. So we have it as written. Oops, 9, 9. And then second section, 2315. Oops. Uh, 920. Okay. All right. So these are the updated numbers. They match the budget revenue sheet. We have them captured in this comment here. They'll be in the updated warrant sheet. So we didn't do a motion on this one yet, correct?
Correct.
Okay. All right. I will entertain a motion on Article 8.
So with your notes, I can motion as printed, correct? Or do you want me to include the dollar amount?
I think we can say as printed with the corrections on it, right? Now that I've got them written in there. Brian?
Yes.
Yeah, you can
Okay.
say as printed now.
I make a motion for the Finance Committee to recommend Article 8 as corrected for fiscal year 21.
And I'll second that.
Okay, any additional discussion? Okay, seeing none. Conley,
Yes.
Dean,
Yes.
Hudson,
Yes.
Pecha,
Yes.
Riley,
Yes.
Sebastian, yes, Walsh.
Yes.
Okay, motion passed MSVU. Okay, 7 and 8. Okay, 7, 8, and then we do need to vote 9. Okay, which is the second part of the Water Enterprise Fund. So this article authorizes the Water Enterprise Fund to incur debt to pay for improvements to the water distribution system. So is this the housekeeping, again, the other housekeeping one?
No, this is new. This is, he's going to bond $1 million to upgrade some water. We're going to borrow money against water revenues to do more improvements in the water system.
Was this for the Maple Avenue project?
Yes.
Yes.
And I apologize, you may want to hold this one because one of the problems with this $1,070,000 is it doesn't include the payment of interest, prepaid interest on the first installment, which we need to calculate. So I haven't even told Melissa that she needs to get me a number on that. So that number is going to rise slightly.
Okay, so we need to pass on it.
Yeah, if you want to, we could write it so that we can go forward. We can either come back and vote it later, or we can simply go in. I don't think it's going to change your vote. So you can vote it in general, or we can reconfirm it, or we can say we'll give a report at town meeting, whatever you want to do.
I think we could leave it because I think there's probably a really, really good chance. Well, I guess you're gonna probably want to get the warrant out before. So,
I have to put that number, the correct number in it.
yeah, okay. Um,
And because this is borrowing, this is a 2/3 vote.
so I think we do need to vote it, but I don't think we should vote it until we have the absolute correct number. Anybody else? How does everybody else feel?
I agree.
Yeah, how much
I agree.
money is that before you have to get the warrant out?
Well, it depends upon when we hold town meeting. If we do it on, right now, if it's scheduled, in our head on the 15th of June, so 16 days prior, so the 30th of May. I'd like to obviously do it earlier, but I'm trying to see if we can push this off to the 22nd or 29th with the governor's change today of not resuming normal operations and then doing a slow rollout of May 18th. My concern would be that by the 15th of June, we're not going to be allowed to hold a meeting of this size, number one. And number two, it's still too early. And even if we could hold the meeting with that many people, I don't think that many people would show up. And because there's a couple of moving pieces. I know this is going to sound weird, but I have to check with the town of Rockland because we share town council. And if Rockland is meeting on on either one of those two nights, then I have to go back to the Board of Selectmen with a recommendation that we may not hold the town meeting on a Monday if I want to do it in that last week. Also, for consideration for later discussion, the week of the 29th is also the 4th of July weekend. And I don't know if we'd rather not do it on that prior Monday. I don't know if many people are going to travel on the 4th of July this year, but it is a decision for the Board of Selectmen.
So I would, given the timing, I think we're gonna have other opportunity to tie up any loose ends. So I would recommend that we could pass on the article, or we could simply, for the sake of, yeah, I say we just pass and wait until we get the final number.
Yeah, I think we have a little time.
Yeah, I agree with that.
Okay, so we're gonna pass on Article 9. Wait for final number. And even if we have to, like, I guess it's in this instance, it's a lucky we have the ability to jump on a quick go-to meeting, do a quick meeting that way.
Mhm.
All right, so we'll pass on 9. Okay. Old 10 got deleted, but we're good all the way down until 16. 15, 16.
So you
So,
gotta-
Brian, did you guys ever consider or talk with the board about a town, since we're gonna probably have to do a fall town meeting anyway, right?
Yeah, we're probably
Wouldn't it maybe like do a town meeting to keep the wheels on till then and really reduce this and only address critical, budget needs for payroll, et cetera, just do the basic stuff in June?
the direct answer is yes, but the basic stuff is rather extensive. So if we do a town meeting in June, the five of the 6 articles in the special are critical. So those have to go. Then we would do at least the ladder truck, the quorum for special town meeting, et cetera, and anything without money. But right at the moment, I would tell you that the planning board doesn't want to move the marijuana articles until they can do a real public hearing. And they're not trying to be obstructionist or anything. They're just saying that we want to make sure that we do this in a real public hearing and not a go to meeting and all that kind of stuff. They want to be able to do it the old fashioned way, I guess now, or the old normal way, which I can actually agree with. So we may be postponing a whole series of articles to a fall town meeting. And I can't do a fall town meeting, Dave, until I recertify free cash.
Right, and that's in September, right?
Correct. That would be probably late September. So I try to get through as many of the articles as I could, still preserving as much money in free cash as I could at this town meeting. So a lot of things I would postpone. Hold on. I mean, do you want to go into this conversation now, or do you want me to
No, I'd
No,
rather
we
get,
should go through this. It's just food for thought.
No, but you're right on the same wavelength as I am. And I've talked with a couple of members of the Board of Selectmen. We're gonna need to pull our horns in a little bit, preserve our cash, because I think we're gonna have a problem.
all right, so let's keep going and then we'll go back to that conversation. So Article 16 is the OPEB article. Forgive me, Melanie, I don't know if you had it in your notes. I can't remember why we passed it last time.
I can look back.
But we should be good to go on it.
I don't think we had the number last time. The number was still open, the
Okay.
dollar amount.
I believe that was it.
Yep, okay, yeah, that's what I had in my other note, okay. So now we have, the article is complete. Lengthy. Okay, we have a final number in there. So it's two separate amounts from two sources. Do we have both numbers in the article?
Yes. Well, I actually have it in the recommendation, because I'm not really needing to appropriate the 72,000 that already exists. I'm just transferring it.
Okay. So we're only appropriating the 140.
Correct. I
Okay.
did list it in the sources of funds.
Yeah.
Come back into, where did the money come from and where's it going? So in the sources of funds, it shows the 72,000, but the new money, if you will, is the overlay surplus.
Is that going to confuse people?
Yes, and that's why your motion is going to be fantastically well written.
Wait a minute.
Well,
This
it's
is a Board of
actually
Selectmen
100.
motion.
Yeah, they're willing to.
David's motion's got to be well worded.
Yeah,
So this is gonna be 72,000 and 140 for a total, right?
But
Correct.
Right, but we're only appropriating the 140. Yeah. Okay. All right, I will entertain a motion on Article 16.
Make a motion for the Finance Committee to recommend Article 16 as printed.
I'll second that.
Any additional discussion? Seeing none, roll call. Conley,
Yes.
Dean,
Yes.
Hudson,
Yes.
Lucia,
Yes.
Riley,
Yes.
Sebastian, yes. Walsh.
Yes.
Okay, Article 16. Unanimously. Okay, that was Article 16. 17, we already voted. We agreed as a committee, 18 and 19, we were not going to offer a recommendation on, which may not happen now anyway. Okay, so I went back to my notes. So Article 20 is the article of the Central Street, the Hanson land property, and the changing of the zoning. And I had to go back to my notes because we were actually a little split on whether or not we wanted to make a recommendation on this. Technically, we weren't split because there's 7 of us. It was 4 did not want to and 3 did. So we left it open. Do we want to just use that vote that we already took and say, no, we're going to pass on this one?
Yes.
Anybody else?
No. We could speak as individual citizens about this if we want. I think it makes sense for the Finance Committee to vote on it. It maximizes a resource that the town has. But if we don't want to do it, we can speak individually to it.
Just out of curiosity, why wouldn't you want to do this?
There's
You
no,
got me.
there's no what's the value? Is there a number?
Yeah, well,
Just a
there's no
lot?
number until we go to sell it, but industrial land in
So how
that
can you-
section of the city, the industrial land in that section of town isn't gonna sell for the price of residential district.
I understand that. All I'm saying is there's no number here. There's not a 500,000, 1,000,000, 10 cents.
it's like
It's
an
just gonna be more.
What
So
difference
It's
does
going
that
to be
make?
more.
But think about
Gotta
it,
be
think
more.
about it this way. It's similar to implementing the meals tax. There's no definitive number there, but we know it's gonna bring us more revenue.
well, I think that, no, Brian has done some estimates on the meals tax and he's talked about those and, right? So
Yeah,
there's
this
numbers
is-
there.
I
This
can
is
tell
just
you what
like,
you're gonna
it's gonna
get in
be
meals
more,
tax.
but maybe it's gonna be less. Who knows?
I
Oh, no,
think when
we'll
we
get more.
originally did it, I think I had said that just because we weren't voting on the ones before that, I didn't think we should on this, but I'm willing to go to the other side and say that I'd make a recommendation on this, if anyone else wants to, but
I'm also with Melanie. I've thought more about this and I'm in favor.
Okay, let's do it.
Okay, so it sounds like we've shifted more in favor to making a recommendation. Oops, hold on, sorry. I'm waiting on my laptop here. Okay, so we are going to, and again, we as citizens, to Dave's point, we can vote however we want. And, you know, we will have a recorded finance committee vote with us, because not that it comes up often, but last year, it actually, somebody did ask how the committee, if the committee was split on it. So we can have that record. All right, so we are gonna change this to a yes, we are gonna vote on it.
mhm.
Let me just move it down to, okay, so we don't have a recommendation in here yet, but we will if this passes. So I would entertain a motion on Article 20.
I would make a motion that the finance committee vote to support Article 20.
I'll second that.
Okay, any additional discussion? Seeing none, we'll do a quick roll call. Conley,
Yes.
Dean,
Yes.
Hudson?
Yeah.
Yes.
Riley,
Yes.
Sebastian, yes, Walsh.
Yes.
Okay, motion passed, MSVU. Okay. All right, that was 20. Okay, 21 we are not voting on. 22 we are voting on. So 22 would be the big townwide electrical project.
Yeah.
Honestly don't remember why we passed it last time, because I think it was final numbers wise.
Let me see what I
Yeah,
have.
I thought we voted.
How we voted
Okay.
on this.
Yeah.
No, we didn't.
No, we passed
No.
on it.
Well, it says right there, the finance committee recommends this article.
Yeah.
No, I just have that, well, we were gonna wait.
Okay.
I don't remember exactly why.
Okay.
Would this be one where like the capital, budgets that would this make sense to wait on?
There's gonna be a whole slew of articles that we'll probably postpone, but we would make that decision closer to town meeting. So my recommendation here is, this is a good idea, but the finance committee may come back and say, we're gonna hold on these articles at town meeting because of the unknown of state aid.
And we can, you know, we're voting kind of to the point of the budget. We're voting today on what we know today.
Mhm.
And the point is we can hold or we can reverse anything.
Yes.
So, all right, then I will entertain a motion on Article 22.
I make a motion for the finance committee to recommend Article 22 as written.
And I'll second that.
Any discussion? Any additional discussion?
All right, let me just ask a question. If you print the warrant and you publish the warrant and the department or whatever gets up and says, we want to pull this article, can't somebody still get up in the audience and say, I want to move this article, and it overrides that? We have to take a vote on it?
Yes. But in my past history of town meetings, very infrequently has a motion to pass over an article ever been defeated. Has that been your record here?
Always my record.
I think there might have been one where there was a lot of debate about passing over it, but then we ultimately passed over it.
I actually, Dave, wouldn't that have been also the, 2 years ago with the school, there was obviously some debate about, oh, no, it was an amendment. It was amendment, sorry.
Yeah, that was an amendment. Yeah.
That was an amendment,
We've
yeah.
we've had a lot of amendments defeated, but
Yeah. Yep. Okay. All right, any additional discussion? We already vote on this? No, okay.
So I just have a question. Has everyone read all these articles? I think everyone on the committee.
yeah.
Is anyone planning on voting no on any of them?
I think there's some clarification that still has to occur, and that's kind of the purpose of what we're doing here.
Oh, okay.
So I wouldn't take it just as printed if that's what we wanted to do.
That's what I like to do, but okay, I hear what you're saying.
Yeah.
And
So that we've had a lot of changes already, so.
but to your point, Joe, absolutely, there's been no votes. But ideally, if we, like I said, if we get to a good point, we're doing our job, hopefully there are a little few to none. But
I mean, we're just
absolutely.
gonna do this like 17 times and everyone votes yes, so. All right, let's keep doing it.
All right, so we were in discussion mode, right? Okay, so quick roll call. Conley,
Yes.
Dean,
Yes.
Hudson,
Yes.
Isha, Dan,
Yes.
sorry, Riley,
Yes.
Sebastian, yes, Walsh.
Yes.
Okay, motion passed, MSU. Right, down. Okay, 23 through 28, we're not doing recommendations on. 29, we
Hey,
already
Joey,
voted.
see how fast that went?
Zumba.
I think we only have 4 more, right?
Yeah, I'm going as fast as I can. I think we're doing good. Okay, so Article 30, I believe the way we wanted to, I think we're gonna change our recommendation here. And Brian, I think the way we talked about it is that we would give our report at town meeting, because if the personnel bylaws article passes, then do we withdraw this article, or how does that work?
No, unfortunately, the personnel article wouldn't go into effect until next June. So consequently, the 2022 fiscal year. So this article is still very much alive. It's not a great article, but this is the last year they'll be able to do it. So, here's the problem. You can say the finance committee recommends against this article, it'll still pass.
Oh, yeah, yeah.
So I'm not sure you want to waste the bullet. This is the
I don't know,
last. year.
Dan, what do you feel?
Bylaw
I
passed
may disagree with that.
The library's
I thought
closed
you might.
anyways, isn't it?
For the moment.
So further notice.
Yep.
Ah,
It'll open on the 19th of May.
For real?
Yep.
That sounds good.
Okay, then we have to take a vote on this one then. Hold on, let me just flip ahead here. So, I'm stalling because I'm thinking. I don't know how I feel. All right, I will entertain a motion on Article 30.
If I don't want to recommend it, though, I shouldn't make the motion.
Now you can
Make
make
a
the
negative motion.
You can vote against your motion.
I make a motion that the finance committee not recommend Article 30.
Oh, so we're gonna go opposite? Okay.
That's my personal thought. I mean, that's why I said if you want someone else to.
You always make the motion and in the affirmative. You
Yeah.
can vote against it.
And
But
then
the-
vote no.
Yeah, then you make the
Yeah.
motion, you vote no, but the motion should be in the affirmative.
All right, I
Dan-
can.
if you don't want to make the motion, we can have somebody else do
I'll
it.
make the motion. So I motion that we accept Article, what's the number?
30.
Article number 30 as written in the document.
I'll second that.
Okay. Any discussion? So I think the point here is, well, I don't know that there's a point. Okay, any discussion?
No.
Okay, I'm gonna do a slow roll call vote. Conley,
Yes.
Dean,
Yes.
Hudson,
Yes.
Peacha,
No.
Riley,
No.
Sebastian, no, Walsh.
Yes.
Okay, motion passes. 4-3.
Four.
You want to note the division in your recommendation?
How does the committee feel about that?
Would we have to note the division of any other articles that didn't?
Yeah. I mean, kind of.
we
Haven't done it. It's breaking
Keep it
precedent.
I think you got to keep it uniform. Either we do them all or you do none of them.
Okay. I
What
could
other
sort of.
folks
count
think.
it. You recommended by majority vote.
Just
I
so
think
that
that's a
like
point.
all-
The other ones, do the other ones say unanimously?
No.
I mean, I think you're just inviting comment and trouble by doing that. I mean, just be consistent. We recommend it or we don't recommend it.
Yeah, people can see the vote. This is a public record, right? There's a recording of the meeting and all this.
Absolutely.
Good point.
It's televised live as we speak. All right, so motion, Melanie, just make sure I had my count correct, but motion passed 4-3-0, correct?
Correct.
Perfect, thank you. All right, so that was 30. Okay, next article is Article 31 we need to vote on. So this is the funding of the Special Education Reserve Fund. We held off on this with a couple others just to kind of see how things played out, making sure that we finalized the budget and such.
Well, part of your problem, part of your question was who authorizes the spending? It's the
Yeah.
Board of Selectmen and the school committee.
Okay.
Excuse me.
On this article, Brian, you and I talked about the possibility about doing a report at town meeting, that we could do that as well, correct?
Yes, but this
Okay.
article, regardless of the budget structure, you would go for, I would recommend you go forward with, because it would be not one of the articles I would cannibalize.
So the way this is written, it would require a unanimous vote of the school committee finance, the school committee finance and board of selectmen.
Yeah, unfortunately, I read the state law. It requires a majority of vote of the school committee and the Board of Selectmen.
Yeah, we get no say in it.
Well, I mean, I can speak a little bit to this. My feeling on this, and I've raised this to Laura and with Brian, is that, transportation is not occurring right now within the school system. And there is, I believe, was it Solicitor General law, Brian? Am I quoting that correctly? That says the schools cannot pay a bill if they have not received a service for it. So there's some negotiation between the busing company and the schools as to how much should be paid, if anything.
Yeah, but this article, Dan, doesn't involve transportation. It involves special education.
Oh, I'm
which
sorry.
has- Which has a component of special education transportation.
Correct.
And there will be theoretically in FY20, some savings on all transportation, special and non-special transportation. But for the purposes of this discussion, it doesn't involve this article.
Right, I think part of our conversation that we had the other day is, where are we gonna land at the end of this year's budget? From a potential surplus position, and would we need to then, the intent when we created this reserve fund was that it would be funded by surplus dollars at the end of this fiscal, at
No,
the end of the
It
year.
would, because the surplus, in a normal year, the surplus wouldn't be certified until October. So this is coming out of the current free cash certification. So where you could say I can make it up, or let's take the whole thing. If there's any surplus from the school operations this year, it will float to free cash and be available for appropriation in the fall.
Mhm.
Okay, and if we don't appropriate it in the fall, we would put it into stabilization. This article creates a special education reserve account. Think of it as the finance committee reserve account, but for special education only. And it requires the school committee and the board of selectmen to authorize the spending of it. And it also allows the school department to not increase their request for special education funding based on an unknown. So this creates a reserve in the town's funds. So should the school run short of special education money middle of the budget year, there's a reserve account that they can touch with 2 votes. This is something I would advise you that you want to do.
I don't
Dan,
disagree.
yeah.
I don't disagree. I completely support it. The point I was trying to make was based on the discussion we had the other day, which this seems a little different, but that's okay.
It's a cousin, but it's not
It's
specifically.
just not what we did. It's not what we discussed the other day. But
And I think the intent of, Crystal, I'm thinking you might be the only one that was on the committee when we approved this. Is that right? I think you're right. I believe the conversation absolutely was when we approved the reserve fund that, and it may be a lag in time, but that surplus money would fund this, because I believe they funded it with that initial 16,000 that was surplus that year.
That was 6,000.
6,000, yeah. I think it started off at 16.
But the downside is special education isn't inexpensive. Special education comes in increments of 40,000,
Yeah.
being a little bit,
I think part of my concern, and I think Dan's concern based on the conversation that we had as well, is that, there, and again, this is a little bit of, our history, I think, coming through, is that, if there's surplus, and I know we've talked about, we're going to reach out to the school department and try to do a sit down with them and have this discussion, but, what is the intent that if there is surplus, which I'm thinking there's going to be from a transportation perspective and potentially from other categories, how will that surplus be handled? I think the concern is that it won't come anywhere back to the town, plus we're then going to give them this 200,000. Dan, does that kind of capture the concern a little bit?
100%.
Yeah. So again, we started off funding with about 100,000 and then it jumped to 200,000. And now there's some concern around potential surplus money. And again, I don't think anybody is disagreeing at all with the concept. I think everybody on the committee, has been very supportive of this for the last several years. I think it was just a little bit of concern about the amount funding. And I get it, Brian. I know that, that's a drop in the bucket compared to what can happen.
I really want to be upfront about where I want to go with this. My goal would be to put this article at some point in the future. I would probably recommend this article at about $250,000. And then every town meeting after this one, we would place back into special reserve any amount of draft that they took against it to replenish so that we always had a reserve for special education so that their school budget doesn't create a reserve in the operating budget, that this becomes the reserve and it doesn't get moved around within their budget in the future. It can only be spent on special education excess.
And I think part of the concern is we have no visibility into that to know whether or not that's happening or not as well, which is part of a concern.
I can assure you that if they draft against the 200,000, because you guys are the budget committee, you're going to get the notification that they've asked the Board of Selectmen for money.
Mhm.
And I think, to be honest with this, if you look at your rights under state law and town bylaws, if you know that there's a transfer request coming from the school department to the Board of Selectmen, you can hold a public hearing on that. And you can make a recommendation to the Board of Selectmen.
Okay.
And if the request is legitimate, I can agree the school committee would want your support.
Yeah, I would think so.
I'm
Okay,
trying
so let's
to make-
vote, yeah?
I'm trying to make the school budget as transparent as I can under Chapter 90, which Chapter 90 basically says, here's a lump sum of money, spend it any way you want to. What I'm saying here is don't overspend, don't over appropriate for special education. We'll give you the safety valve right here, but we'll be able to see when you touch it.
But we can't see the other side. So how do we know that the other side is being budgeted appropriately and spent appropriately? Like, is the other side going to be reduced by 200,000? I don't think the answer is yes.
No, because they don't have $200,000 as a cushion in that budget line. But we would be able to say to them, budget for what you know for September and don't budget for what you don't know. And here's your safety valve. And when they spend their special education, because we get the bills, I can tell you what gets charged against that account.
Mhm.
And I can tell, and you can see that. You can see that when I give you the monthly reports.
Yeah.
So you'll know what's being charged against that account. And if it's
So,
not special
once
education,
again, couldn't this be a fall town meeting thing? Because after September starts, they'll know basically where their special ed really is gonna be at, right?
no, they can't wait that long because you can't spend money that's not appropriated.
This is the reserve fund I'm talking about.
Correct, but they may need to dish into the reserve in September.
They're not gonna spend their whole special ed budget in September.
In many cases, Dave, they do because they prepay special education tuition.
So in August, in theory, they could get 2 registrations. They could get in August 2 late registrations that they didn't plan for, didn't budget for, and then need to pay in early September, is what you're saying.
Right.
Yeah,
Building the
that-
reserve account
makes
is
sense.
not spending the reserve account. So not to say that they won't dish into it immediately, but it's important for them to have the safety valve, just like the rest of the town departments have the finance committee reserve, which requires your vote. This one unfortunately requires the school committee and the board of selectmen, but at least there's a check and balance. And this money isn't being expended, it's being reserved. There's a difference.
Right. So I have a question. So it says the finance committee authorizes as well or no?
No, unfortunately, under state law, it's only the school committee and the board of selectmen.
Why
I
does
have-
it say that? It
Because
says,
at the time-
by authorization of the school committee, finance committee, and board of selection should the need arise.
Correct. When I wrote that, I believed it was all 3. I checked the law, it's only 2.
Oh, okay, thank you.
Okay, so all right, I guess that I would entertain a motion on Article 31.
I motion now we approve Article 31 as written.
I'll second that.
Would have to be with the exception of the finance committee. Oh, okay, that's the motion. Okay, never mind.
Yeah,
I already changed it in the actual written warrant, Dave.
so the finance committee recommendation doesn't change at all. Okay, any other discussion? Okay, seeing none, I'll do a roll call. Conley,
Yes.
Dean.
Yes.
Hudson,
Yes.
Pecha,
Yes.
Riley,
Yes,
Sebastian, yes, Walsh.
Yes,
Okay, motion passes. Okay. Home stretch. Okay, we agreed not to comment on 32 through 34. We've already voted 35 through 37. That brings us to 38, which is the ladder truck. Okay, so we passed on this before because we needed some final numbers. So not to exceed 1.4 is our final landing spot, Brian, correct?
Correct.
Um,
Now this includes training and everything. Okay.
Yeah.
um, hold on, I'm just finding my spot here. 38, okay, all right, so I will entertain a motion for Article 38.
I make a motion that the Finance Committee recommend Article 38 as written.
I'll second that.
Okay, any discussion? Okay, seeing none. Conley,
Pass.
so that's a no vote?
Can you just pass?
Or
Yeah.
so,
an
Abstain.
abstention.
Abstain.
Okay, Dean,
Yes.
Hudson,
Yes.
Pecha,
Yes.
Riley,
yes,
Sebastian is a yes, Walsh?
Yes,
Okay, so motion passes, 6-0, 1 abstention.
Yep.
Okay. Right, and then we already voted 39 through 41. We're not voting on 42, and that brings us to the end, Article 43, which is our transfer to stabilization.
the new
Right.
number,
I was just gonna say, I forgot to double check this number, 537,085.
536, 569,
Oh, okay, I knew I missed one. 536 what?
569.
569. Okay, hold on a second. Okay, so it is 536, 569 is our final number. Okay. Okay, so I will entertain a motion on Article 43.
I make a motion that the Finance Committee recommend Article 43 as printed.
I'll second that.
Okay, any additional discussion?
so this is the regular stabilization fund. Nothing's going into the capital stabilization fund?
Nothing's going in, nothing's, I apologize, nothing's going in, and the fire truck is coming out of capital stabilization, that loan, if you will.
It's gonna get paid back, right?
Gonna get paid back.
So in theory, we're not incurring any more capital debt this year.
We're not, absolutely not. We're not,
Okay,
we need to reduce debt.
okay.
So Dave, I think we had talked about this once before, and I don't think we asked. And Brian, and in the past, George used to maintain a capital stabilization spreadsheet that showed all the assets, the years, the drop-offs, the ads. Do you still have access to that spreadsheet?
Yes.
Do you know? Okay.
It's
Is
a
that
little
something
out of
that-
date because it hasn't been updated for 2 years.
Okay,
But it's one of the things that is on the list of things to do.
okay,
And update the capital plan generally, because that hasn't been updated for 3 years. But we have an overriding concern that $4 million of our operating budget now goes to debt service, and I need to bring that percentage down a little bit.
Well, the capital stabilization fund was supposed to maintain 5 years of payments on our debt. Are we still
Correct.
at that point?
Yes, we are.
Okay.
Our
So-
reserve totals are exceptional. And, you know, we obviously want to tell you that we owe a debt of gratitude to George because we are going to weather the next storm very well because of our reserves.
So there you go.
Especially if we put that cultivation site in.
Well, yeah, and then we can all get together and use some of the product
Yeehaw.
and reduce the anxiety I feel about this budget.
It was going so well.
On that note, is there any additional discussion on Article 43?
Oh.
Seeing none. Okay, we'll do roll call vote. Conley,
Yes.
Dean,
Yes.
Hudson,
Yes.
Peter,
Yes.
Riley,
Yes.
Sebastian, yes, Walsh.
Yes.
Okay, motion passes unanimously. Okay. Anything else to go here? We are making a few updates and final tweaks to the source funds worksheet that will get updated as well. And then the wonderful graph at the end, which we love. And that, my friends, brings us to the end of the warrant.
Yay.
Not too painful. Okay. So we may have like I think we had one, maybe two articles that we kind of left hanging. I think one specifically that we left hanging, looking for a final number, but I think overall we're in good shape. Brian, we go back to the conversation about obviously the budget concerns, town meeting, and once we kind of land somewhere with town meeting, then next steps of meeting with the selectmen, the moderators meeting and that and such.
Right. I mean, I have to consult with the Board of Selectmen, but we have to pick a date for town meeting, hopefully before July 1st. If we go to July 1st without a budget, without a town meeting, then we need to do a 1/12 budget in July, August, and September, and possibly October, until we can have free cash recertified and be able to go back and pass a town budget. The 1/12 budget would be predicated on FY20 spending. So hopefully we don't need to do that, because the downside is the articles in the special, I really do I need them. So, you know, it would be my worst case scenario, not being able to do a town meeting in June. Going through this, and so I'm looking at, you know, whether we would do the 29th, which is the week of the 4th of July, the 22nd, which is the week before that. Right now, we're slated for the 15th. I just think that's too soon, considering that we don't come out of quarantine until the 18th, and then they're going to talk about, you know, a slow roll opening. Will we be able to hold a meeting in excess of 100 people by the 15th of June? I don't know. So I'm thinking the further we push it, the better we are. So if I can push it I mean, I don't know how you guys feel about Monday, the 29th. That week, July 4th is the Saturday. So if I did it the Monday before the 4th of July weekend, am I going to have a problem with people taking vacation for the 4th of July? Or would they take vacation after that? And how will this whole COVID thing play out for somebody who wants to take a vacation in that week? So those are the discussions. Or do I move off the Monday night and pick a night in the week of the 22nd? That would be a full week before the 4th of July weekend, and also at least a week, if not a weekend, some number of days later than the 15th. The further we push it, the better the likelihood of being able to hold the town meeting.
Yeah, I wouldn't do the 4th of July week.
Oh.
If you're gonna do it on that Monday, you could even do it the Thursday before, maybe. That brings you a lot closer, but I would not do it the 4th of July week. Because you won't even get a quorum there, for sure. I bet you $100.
Right.
Yeah, I agree, Dave.
Okay, well, that'd be part of my recommendation to the board then. And the problem is, I know that, as I mentioned earlier, depending upon when Rockland does their town meeting, I have to avoid that night. We had first pick, we picked the 15th. Bad choice on my part. Rockland hasn't decided between the 22nd and the 29th. So I need to talk to Doug Lapp, my counterpart in Rockland, and see what they want to do. If I move it off the Monday night, then I don't have to worry about it. Okay.
Is the
So-
Monday night just tradition because that's when the selectmen meet, or is there any other significance of?
It's in the bylaws that you meet on Monday, the second Monday in May. And of course, we already blown that. So,
Right.
It goes back to Monday being a late night. So it goes back to Monday night with town hall being a late night.
yeah. Yeah. So I think,
Is
to
there-
be honest with you, I'll take the recommendation to the Board of Selectmen, but even if we did it Thursday night, I would prefer a Thursday night later in the week than invading the week of 4th of July.
Is there a way to survey the townspeople and see what they want to do?
I don't know of one, Joe, but it would be a good idea, but I don't know how to do that.
One of the problems you might run into, Brian, if we go for a Thursday night, more than one night, who's gonna show up on Friday?
Yeah, good point.
I go to.
I
a
mean,
Wed-
quorum wise, we'll be by the special, it doesn't really matter, but still, I think we have to consider that aspect of it.
Out of fairness, Dave, rather than expediency. Okay,
Well,
Good.
Wednesday and Thursday.
Wednesday and Thursday.
Yeah.
Or we could meet on the 4th of July. That'd be great.
Who's getting
I'll
a
call
vacation?
in.
All right.
People that work.
All right, so next steps would be that you need to consult with everybody you mentioned and pick a date, and then we need to work backwards from that date. As far as getting a meeting with the selectmen, moderators meeting and that sort, and then we can plan our final before you have to go to print.
I'd like to go, I mean, the legal requirement is 16 days. It's 14 days plus the day of the meeting, plus the day of the posting, so 16 days. And the problem I have is I want to get as many warrants out around the town as possible, so people would know what's coming up, have time to read the warrant and, come prepared at town meeting. So that's my goal. If this wasn't a COVID year, I would probably make the pitch to the Board of Selectmen that we should be mailing the warrant into every. But we'll talk about that next year.
Okay. Great. And just a few things, we're talking obviously a lot about the what ifs that might be coming down the pike from a budget perspective. I don't know if anybody else saw the email that I sent out that there's a webinar tomorrow afternoon specifically for finance committees to discuss the budgets, the upcoming year, and what may or may not be coming and how to handle them. So I'm definitely doing the webinar. I don't know if anybody else is able to join, but I'll certainly share whatever information we glean out of that with you as well. But other
Thank
than
you.
that, any other business or questions, discussions? None. All right. Next meeting, I think we can probably hold on scheduling our next meeting until we have a little better sense on the next steps and the dates, and we'll kind of work backwards from them. So we might be able to take a week off or so. Great work. We've been doing it, pushing hard for the last several months, I think. I know, I feel like
Good,
I've lost all concept of time. I have no idea what day it is, what month it is. I think it's been forever.
You've
So,
done
but
really,
we'll-
really good work, Laura.
Thanks. Hey, Brian, kind of led the charge here. But yeah, so we'll get back in touch relatively shortly on scheduling our next meeting, if
Great.
that's okay with everybody. And if anything comes up, we'll communicate out to you before that. Other than that, I'll entertain a motion to adjourn.
A motion to adjourn?
I'll second that.
Okay, any discussion? Yeah, excellent. If not, we'll just do an all in favor.
Aye.
Aye. All right, we're calling it at 7:30. Excellent. Everyone have a good night. Continue to stay safe.
Yes,
Thank
you
you,
too.
you guys too.
All righty.
Thanks,
Good
everyone.
night.
Thank you, Brian. Bye.
Thank you.
Bye.